Pro Group Management. Workers' comp that works for you.
Welcome to Nevada Newsmakers, coming to you from the brand new House recording studios here on Capitol Hill. On the program today, Congresswoman Dina Titus of CD1, here for the whole program on an all-new Nevada Newsmakers.
Nevada Newsmakers Goes to Washington is brought to you by Pro Group Management, workers' comp that works for you. NV Energy. NV Energy proudly serves Nevada, providing electricity to 2.4 million electric customers. University Medical Center of Southern Nevada. Compassion, accountability, integrity, respect.
Big R in Sparks is located on Bering Boulevard next to Smith's and across from Reed High School for workwear and everyday wear. Evaporative coolers, outdoor living, Weber's, Traeger's, and Lodge. Fill your propane tanks here. Big R on Bering Boulevard in Sparks next to Smith's and across from Reed High School. Big R. Hardware, clothing, and a whole lot more.
It's the $100,000 Cash is King Progressive giveaways at Carson Valley Inn. Giveaways every Saturday with a Progressive up to $20,000 and $15,000 in guaranteed grand prize giveaways. There's another 100,000 reasons to play and win at the Carson Valley Inn.
For 50 years, Nevada Heating has been keeping people comfortable in their homes. At Nevada Heating, call the Do It Right guys and get the air conditioning back on today. That's the Nevada Heating way. Why sweat for days on end when Nevada Heating can get your air conditioning fixed today? Call us today and we'll fix it today at 323-5585 or schedule us on our website at nevadaheating.com.
This is Nevada Newsmakers with host Sam Shad, a no-holds-barred political forum. Now, from the Nevada Newsmakers broadcast headquarters, here is Sam Shad.
And back on Nevada Newsmakers, coming to you from Washington, D.C. in the brand new House recording studios. We are delighted to welcome back to the program one of my favorite people, Congresswoman Dina Titus of CD1.
Well, thank you, Sam. We always like it when you come to town.
Well, thank you. Let's start out, if we may, with the INVAPA Airport.
Okay.
So they've designated the legislature a city now with no name at that point, which is kind of like the horse with no name. But Jim Gibson said on the program that when they did the budget for this in 2019, it was $12 billion. My thought immediately was, well, Dina's not going to be real happy about this because you were always looking at Ring Around the Valley to stop the growth. What do you think about the INVAPA Airport and what it's going to bring?
Well, I didn't want to stop growth, but I wanted to manage it, and that goes back a long way. You're right. We have memories of state legislative issues from a long time ago. If they do the INVAPA Airport, it will be mostly development along the I-15 corridor between Las Vegas and headed south to Los Angeles. You know, they've been talking about this for a long time, and when they got fairly close to it before, that's when the economy tanked, and so there just wasn't the money or the real need to have another airport. The thought is it may be just a freight airport, that's certainly in the beginning, as opposed to a passenger airport, but if they start to take passenger flights, then they're going to need some kind of mass transit to come into town. The Ring Around the Valley was more concerned about residential development. If this stays just along the corridor, I think there are some accommodations that can be made. But it's need, it's money, it's water. All of those factors will go into that decision.
The airport says it's going to run out of space in 2030, and the airport won't be ready till 2037. Do you think there's any way that gaming, which is huge in your district, is going to allow a 7-year gap?
Oh, I don't think so. You know, what we need is heads in beds, and we have so much air travel. A lot drives up from Southern California and around the West, but we fly in a lot of people, you know, and we're trying to build up the international travel as well, and so that's going to take flights. I don't think they're going to have a 7-year gap. They'll either speed up some of that INVAPA or they'll try to figure out some way to expand. You know, right now we've gone back to pre-COVID numbers, so more and more people are coming to town, and the airport's one of the busiest in the country.
Do you think that you're going to see a large residential development build up around the airport? Because certainly they're going to need hotels, they're going to need gas stations, they're going to need lots of infrastructure beyond just the airport itself.
Well, infrastructure is the key, and it's not just about building a train or some kind of mass transit. It's about stringing water, stringing power, all of that along that corridor. There's already some zoning in place, and you need to talk to the local people about this so that business can go along there. You know, there are certain restrictions for airports that you can't have residential areas within a certain distance from them. So Las Vegas is growing in all directions, but we're still limited by the land that's owned by BLM.
You know, in the past, people talked about the population of the Las Vegas Valley was going to be 3 million. Do you see it exceeding that?
I don't know. You know, at one time when I was in the state legislature, we were the fastest growing area in the country. You had to build an elementary school a month to keep up with that growth. It's tapered back a lot because of the economy and because of COVID, but we're still now a fast-growing area. And that's why there's a lot of push by developers to get some more of that federal land released for building.
Well, and also it'll lower the cost of housing potentially, because when you don't have any cheap land available, then the cost of the land that is available is going to be much higher.
That's certainly their argument.
Let's talk about transportation toward this, because Brightline is certainly going to build their high-speed train, and we'll get to more on that in a moment. But Commissioner Gibson, the chair of the Clark County Commission, said that that's going to be 10 years out before that's even ready. Do you think they're going to need to build light rail, which was originally talked about, what, 15, 20 years ago, between the new airport and Las Vegas?
I don't know what Commissioner Gibson said about it, but it was Henderson, his district, that was opposed to light rail when we were talking about it before, so I'm not sure where he stands on this. But you're going to need something to get people in if it becomes a passenger airport into town. Now, you'll see shuttles, I'm sure, and the casinos will weigh in on that, but I don't know if it will be light rail or if it'll be some kind of bus system. But, you know, going back to Brightline, I'm very excited about the progress they're making, and if that money comes through, everything else is in place. They're ready to go, so I'm not as pessimistic about how long it'll take.
All right, so how optimistic are you that they're going to get that money, and is it a deal breaker if they don't?
Well, you know, Sam, I was put on the California-Nevada Speed Train Commission under Bob Miller when he was governor, Democrat. Kenny Gwynn, Republican, kept me on there. And then Jim Gibbons, I don't think he even knew it existed, so I stayed on there. So I've been pushing the speed train for a long time. And now in the Transportation Infrastructure Committee, I'm still a strong proponent of it. In fact, just yesterday, Secretary Pete was before our committee, and I asked him about it. He wouldn't commit on the record that we are one of the projects that will be funded, but his response was very positive, and he highlighted all the things that we've been arguing. It's multi-state, so it will have a regional impact around the Southwest. Bipartisan, people from both parties are supporting it. You've got labor agreements in place. You've got the site of the stations already located. You've got the environmental impact studies done. You've got some private financing. It's ready to go if they can get those federal dollars. There's a lot of money in Speed Train because both the Secretary and the President support it. And my argument is, don't just hand out little dibs and dabs. Make a big investment to show this really can work. And you got a test site in Florida that's already up and running, so we know we can do it, and it's time to do it.
And isn't the biggest thing really the fact that Brightline actually has money, that they are not, you know, they're already in operation. It's
That's
not
right.
something that's going to start from the ground up.
That's right. It's a proven company. They've shown they can do it in Florida. That's looking at expanding. The problem is so much rail money has always gone to the Northeast corridor. That's where all the Amtrak is, connecting Boston, New York, Washington, Philadelphia. So we've just got to kind of break that old mold and show that we need rail in the Southwest as well.
I know you travel across the world, as my wife and I do, and it drives me crazy every time we go to Italy or somewhere where you are on these high-speed trains that are going at phenomenal speeds, and here in the United States, we're crawling along. Anyway, different topic.
Okay.
The budget. Obviously, that is a big deal as we are taping this right now. And there was talk in the New York Times yesterday about Republicans actually reaching out to Democrats to get the votes that they need to get this done. Is anybody reaching out to you so far?
Well, you know, that's a lot of speculation. We hadn't even gotten to that vote. We can't even get the vote on the Department of Defense appropriations. And that's not our fault. That's because of fighting within the Republican Party. You know, McCarthy's kind of being held hostage by that handful of crazy, radical right-wingers who got him into the speakership after 15 votes. He kind of sold his soul to them, and now he doesn't know which way to go. And so twice now, the rule to bring the defense bill to the floor has failed because those are Republicans. So I think they got to get their own house in order. And if they're reaching out to us to try to support some of their bad legislation, they're not going to get my vote.
All right, but I mean, if it's so, in talking to so many people back in Nevada, and I'm presuming that you have a similar situation here, there are a lot of people who need to get things done.
That's right.
And the only way that you get things done is in the middle. And the problem is that publicly you can't say you're in the middle because the country is so divisive. But are you feeling and seeing and hearing more people coming to you privately saying, even if they're from the other side, we need to work together to get this done, that done, the other done?
I don't hear anybody coming from the other side. You remember,
Really?
Yeah, the president made a handshake deal with McCarthy to raise the debt ceiling and then put a certain cap on how much would be spent in return. The minute he walked out the door, that olive branch got chopped off in this faction that I'm talking about in his caucus said, no, we're not going with that deal. We want more and more cuts. For example, right now, Taylor Greene has said she won't vote for anything that gives more money to Ukraine. Well, you know, that's not a position that the Republicans in the Senate take. It's not the president's position. It's not our position. It's not the public opinion position. So it's their problem. They got to get it together before they can even offer anything to reach a compromise.
It was interesting to note that in the last 24 hours, the president went around the Congress to approve the chief of staff for the, I'm sorry, not the chief of staff, but the head of the military, the Joint Chiefs of Staff, and two other appointments that have been held up by Tommy Tuberville. Right. Do you see more of this happening where the president will have to take executive action? Because how is this affecting the military in Nevada?
Well, it's terrible when you don't have anybody on top, like the head of the Marines. Then what kind of defense do you have? What kind of national security? What do the troops think underneath? Young people you may not be able to recruit them because they don't see any pathway. He is using his own personal abortion agenda to threaten national security, and that is something that Republicans in the Senate have spoken about as well, not just Democrats, because it is hurting our military.
Well, and they're seeing the results in voting around the country, too.
That's right. That's right. The special elections have gone Democratic.
All right, let's take a break. We'll come back. More with Congresswoman Dina Titus after this timeout.
The Nevada Builders Alliance has been protecting the interests of the construction industry for over 50 years. Our programs save members thousands of dollars every year and allow them to provide much-needed benefits to their employees. Our industry also allows Nevada to grow. If you're thinking about a career in the construction industry, reach out. And if you haven't thought of a career in construction, what are you waiting for? We are the Nevada Builders Alliance.
What do you count on? You count on your power every day. At NV Energy, we've always powered what's important to you, but we're not looking at the past. We're focused on the future. While our standards are high, our rates will remain low. And our commitment to renewables isn't just meeting standards, but leading the way. Because you can count on more than just your power. You can count on the company who brings it to you. That's our promise. You can count on it.
Safety is the #1 priority for the trucking industry. Over $7 billion a year is spent on technology like this electronic eye that will apply the brakes automatically. But the most important factor for safety is the truck driver. These hardworking men and women who safely move over 70% of our nation's freight and 94% of Nevada's. We thank you because trucks move America forward.
Pro Group Management specializes in providing industries with the necessary components to satisfy and exceed workers' comp requirements. Every business has unique needs and specific regulations. Pro Group Management stays ahead of the curve, providing up-to-date services to keep your industry in top form. Discover how we simplify your tasks, improve efficiency, and reduce expense to keep you moving in a positive direction. Pro Group Management. Workers' comp that works for you.
Retail's impact on Nevada's economy? Enormous. 8,600 businesses, large and small, employing 145,000 workers. And last fiscal year, retail paid tax on nearly $60 billion in sales. We're the Retail Association of Nevada. We support retail, we help it grow, and we mean business.
RANNV.org.
This is Nevada Newsmakers.
And back on Nevada Newsmakers, coming to you from the brand new House recording studios with Congresswoman Dina Titus. You represent, obviously, the Las Vegas Strip and CD1.
Yep.
These cyber attacks
on
MGM, apparently on Caesars as well, and other companies that analysts have been talking about. They say there's probably been 5 that have been attacked. Your thoughts and what can be done about it, if anything?
Well, I serve on Homeland Security, and that's where the cybersecurity is the issue. Unfortunately, we haven't been able to address it because the Republicans in the majority only want to talk about the border. But this is increasingly a problem. I have been in touch with the casinos, I've been in touch with the AGA, with Homeland Security, and with the FBI about what's going on and what we need to do about it. They can't say too much because it is an investigation. Some may have paid the ransom, some may not have.
They say Caesars did, yeah.
And the estimation of the loss is millions a day. So this is serious, and if they can do it to one, they can do it to others. And if you fix it, they can hack that. I mean, that's just how that whole thing works. I would just say to the public, don't believe what's on Twitter. Let's wait till we get the facts. But it does point out the need to have policy on increased security, because it may not be a casino next time. Maybe it'll be a hospital. Maybe it'll be a nuclear power plant. All of those things not only affect national security, but public health and security and the economy.
You brought up the border, so let's jump to that. It seems to me, especially for Nevada, and you know this better than anybody, we need workers of every stripe in the state of Nevada, and we don't have those workers, and yet they're lining up at the border. You've got New York saying the city is going to be destroyed if we don't do something. The president just said that 500,000 Venezuelans can actually work. What else should be done to be able to make this, and also supply employees to Nevadans who need them?
You're right, Sam. Everybody who comes to see me, and the Chamber's been in town this week, says we need workers. We need skilled, trained, educated workers. It's all about workforce development, whether it's a hospital or a fast food joint. So that's a given. We also need immigration reform that is a complete picture, that's not here, 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 that doesn't make any sense and doesn't solve the problem. Right now, you've also got a judge who has said that the DACA program is not legitimate. And so now that puts those people back in the shadows and in uncertainty. We mentioned the Venezuelans. That's called temporary protective status. So they're here because they can't go home. It's dangerous there, so they can get work cards. I think the best thing we can do is give the DACA people the security that they need. They're children who've been here all their lives. Look at making the process so you go from requesting asylum to being able to work compacted, and look at how to make that work, because that gets people in the economy, paying taxes, out of these shelters, and I think that would be an important first step.
And these people don't want necessarily citizenship. They want work so that they can take care of their families, if necessary, send money back home. It would seem that if we could just do that piece of it, but we're always talking about comprehensive reform, and it just seems that it always blows up.
Well, they used to have what they called a bracero program, where you could, for seasonal workers, and most of that was agriculture. But you could expand that and look at other seasonal things. Look at tourism, for example. Construction is another example. So you're right. You could get people working who are coming here would be important, and protecting those dreamers who are here.
Back in, and you and I are old enough to remember this, when Reagan got everything done in '86, the fights back in those days were between big business who wanted cheap labor and unions who didn't want cheap labor coming in and destroying the jobs. Who are the big fighters now? Because those things have gone away.
That's right. Now it's mostly ideological. It's one of those
Really?
things, yeah, or partisan. I don't know what their ideology is, but the popular word these days is weaponizing. We have weaponized immigrants. We're a nation of immigrants. My grandfather came here from Greece, and one party uses it against the other, just like they want to impeach Mayorkas because they don't think he's done a good enough job closing the border. Then you can see a picture of the border wall that they want to finish with people going right through it. I've never seen a wall you can't dig under or climb over.
Well, also tunnels are huge. I mean, that's been going on for years. El Chapo was going on the train. I mean, that's how big these tunnels are.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it seems kind of crazy that we only look at that when, in fact, really, ports of entry are the biggest place where people come in.
Well, it's also the biggest place where fentanyl comes in. And you keep hearing, oh, they're bringing drugs, they're killing our children, they're destroying our economy, it's drugs, drugs, drugs. It's not the poor little mother and her baby from Guatemala trying to get here to be safe. Those drugs come in stuffed in trucks and things that do come through those ports of entry.
All right, let's take another break. More with Congresswoman Dina Titus after this timeout.
It's a good time to eat.
Save money and take transit. Did you know you can ride the bus all day for less than what it would cost you for a gallon of gas? Plan your trip now by going to rtcwashoe.com.
It's a good time to play.
As you know, Reno is booming. Toll's development company is helping it grow with insightful design and development, building community with every project, adding beauty, adding excitement, emphasizing our shared humanity. Reno is becoming bigger. Toll's development is helping it become better, more livable, more enjoyable. To learn more, go to tollsdevelopment.com. tollsdevelopment.com.
It's a good time to win.
Remember 2010 in northern Nevada, 13 to 14% unemployment, thousands of homes in foreclosure, Nevada's casinos closing? Families in the Reno-Sparks area were hurting. Many were losing everything. Then Story County launched a game changer for our region, a public-private industrial partnership, streamlined permitting, slashed bureaucracy, attracting Fortune 500 companies that made Nevada their home. Story County generated a river of cash to area communities. Economic studies by the state and others for the Gigafactory consistently show positive economic benefits for our region. $4 billion in local wages, $17 billion in consumer spending and economic activity, over $100 million in taxes to Washoe, Story, Reno, Sparks, and Nevada, just for the Gigafactory alone. Story County, improving northern Nevada one industry at a time.
This is Nevada Newsmakers.
And back on Nevada Newsmakers in the brand new studios here at the House Recording Studios. They are fabulous. And we're here with Congresswoman Dina Titus of CD1. You just introduced a bill called Invest in Our Communities Act. What does it do?
Well, back during as we were recovering, excuse me, Sam, from COVID, we got a temporary grant program through the Economic Development Administration for areas hard hit by the lack of tourism. So certainly Las Vegas would be one, some places in Florida, California, and that was very helpful. Now this would make that grant program permanent. So you can get money to plan how to be more resilient, how to not be so negatively affected by shutdowns, that sort of thing. And places in Nevada would be eligible. In addition, it sets aside 40% of the grant program for outdoor recreation. So rural Nevada would qualify for that. Lake Mead would qualify. So nowadays, so many more people want to go outdoors that this would be a good investment in those opportunities as well.
Okay, would this run parallel to companies getting insurance? Because a lot of insurance policies during COVID did not cover something like a pandemic, and companies were forced to start getting that kind of insurance. Would this be a companion to that?
Yeah, this wouldn't be a private insurance. This would be money that would go to public government entities that would then invest it in some of these kind of projects, whether it's boat ramps or whether it's a planning association or maybe a Greater Las Vegas economic development group, something like that. They'd get the money to figure out how to invest it in those kind of tourism related industries.
Okay, so in our topic of how many more stadiums do we need, your thoughts on the A's stadium?
Well, I can't speak for the A's. You'd have to ask them, but I do know that it's moving along. It looks like it may come, and it will be at the old Tropicana site, which is in my district. So I'll have those fabulous Aces, I'll have the Knights, I'll have the Raiders, and then maybe I'll have the A's all right there in District 1.
Do you know if they've gotten their private funding put together yet?
I don't know.
But what about the traffic at that?
Well, you're right. That one area there where Tropicana and Flamingo cross the I-15, they're improving that, though. They're using some of the transportation infrastructure dollars to improve that overpass and on and off ramp. So they're trying to accommodate it. A lot of the hotels run shuttles out to those games, to the stadiums as well, and RTC is involved in that. So people were complaining, but hey, I forgot to mention the F1 race, the Formula One, that's right in my district too. It's going to go right down the strip, so people are getting excited about that.
To say the least. I would love to talk to you more about that, but we are out of time.
Well, come back again.
I will, and let's do some Zooms in the near future.
Sounds good.
All right. It's Congresswoman Dina Titus, and we'll be right back.
It's the $100,000 Cash is King Progressive giveaways at Carson Valley Inn. Giveaways every Saturday with a Progressive up to $20K and $15,000 in guaranteed grand prize giveaways. There's another 100,000 reasons to play and win at the Carson Valley Inn.
7 at 7 is a newscast built for your smartphone. It's a 7-minute newscast available every weekday at 7 a.m. and 7 p.m. at lvrj.com. We don't waste your time, and we give you the day's top stories.
We at the RJ have noticed some similarities between us and a certain BTS character, RJ.
Plus the latest in Las Vegas business, weather, health, and entertainment news. 7 at 7 streaming now on your smartphone.
Modern boutique Ahern Hotel and Event Center sits at the heart of the Las Vegas Strip. 2 floors of meeting and event space are ideal for groups and conventions. Stay in one of 200 luxurious rooms and suites. Brand your event throughout the property. Flexible event spaces make for easy planning and personalization. Take over the entire hotel with a full buyout option.
Nevada Newsmakers Goes to Washington is brought to you by Pro Group Management, workers' comp that works for you. NV Energy. NV Energy proudly serves Nevada, providing electricity to 2.4 million electric customers. University Medical Center of Southern Nevada. Compassion, accountability, integrity, respect.
Thanks for watching. We'll continue with our coverage from Washington, D.C. on the next broadcast. We'll see you then.